All right, let's get right into it. We're looking at a book with a pretty wild idea at its core. What if we could build the technology of the future by looking deep into our distant past? That's the whole premise of UFO Labs. It's a guide that suggests we could build some seriously advanced tech by fusing ancient wisdom with modern science. So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the book's really out there premise, but then we're going to spend most of our time on its critical warnings. And trust me, you'll want to hear these. We're talking physical dangers, the kind of mindset you need, and the huge responsibility of creating tech for all of humanity.
You see, the whole idea of the book is to build a bridge between two worlds that, seem totally separate. On one side, you have the wisdom from ancient traditions, and on the other, you've got the world of cutting-edge physics, hands-on experiments, and electromagnetism.
I know. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But this is the central question the book is asking, and it argues that the answer is way closer to yes than you might think. It's proposing this link between our consciousness and technology that, believe it or not, pioneers have been chasing for years.
And the author, Sachin Chitre, he's really upfront about this. He's basically asking the reader to just suspend their disbelief for a minute. Not to blindly accept it, but just to be open to a whole new way of thinking about innovation. This isn't just about making our current stuff better, it's about questioning the very foundation we've built everything on.
This right here, this is so key to the book's whole argument. The Western approach, we tend to celebrate the machine that does one thing really, really well. But the Eastern approach often values how a creation fits into the bigger picture. So the book asks, what if we could merge those two? What if we could create technology that's not just incredibly powerful, but also in harmony with the world?
And here's the thing. The book really tries to move this whole conversation from just a philosophical what-if to a practical how-to. It kind of traces this hidden history of innovation, connecting ancient texts to pioneers like Nikola Tesla and even the controversial inventor Otis Carr, who actually claimed he built a craft that was piloted entirely by thought.
Okay, but before anyone gets carried away trying to build a mind-controlled saucer in their garage, the book takes a really hard turn. Chapter 2 is a huge, sobering disclaimer that we absolutely have to talk about. This is where all that cool theory smacks right into harsh reality.
Let's just be perfectly clear about this. The author does not mince words. The high-voltage electromagnetic generators we're talking about are not toys. A single mistake can have life or death consequences, and that is not an exaggeration in the slightest.
So let's break down exactly what those dangers are. Because these aren't just abstract risks, They are very real, very physical threats that anyone even thinking about experimenting in this field has to be ready for.
The hazards are just severe. First up, electrocution. We're not talking a little shock, we are talking about electrical fields so powerful they can be instantly fatal. Second, with all that energy, there's a constant risk of violent explosions. And even beyond those immediate threats, you've got the long-term danger from harmful radiation. And finally, the intense fields these things generate can easily fry any unshielded electronics nearby, causing critical equipment damage.
So to be crystal clear, these are not optional guidelines. The book makes it plain that protective gear, expert safety protocols, and proper equipment shielding are absolutely mandatory. They're pretty much the only thing standing between a major breakthrough and a total catastrophe.
But the book argues that physical safety is really only half the battle. The experiments themselves demand a very specific mindset from the innovator. Without the right mental approach, progress is basically impossible.
And this difference in mindset is so critical. A closed mind is just going to approach these ideas with dismissiveness, and you're not going to get anywhere. The innovator's mind, though, has to be built on humility and open-mindedness. You have to be willing to consider these unconventional ideas without, throwing scientific rigor out the window.
The author really hammers home this point about humility for one key reason. It forces us to admit that our current understanding of the universe might be incomplete. And that's the real engine of discovery, right? Realizing that we don't, in fact, know everything.
All right, now we get to what might be the biggest warning of them all. The book really zooms out here, from the safety of one person in a lab to the safety of the entire world. It tackles the huge ethical responsibility that would come with developing technology this powerful.
And here, the author issues a direct warning against weaponization. The potential for misuse is just staggering. In the wrong hands, this kind of tech could absolutely ignite global conflicts, it could completely destabilize world power dynamics, and ultimately, it could cause immense harm to innocent people.
So, at the end of the day, the book's ethical position is crystal clear. This knowledge, if it can ever be realized,
has to be developed with a rock-solid commitment to global peace and security. It's really a call for responsible innovation, for balancing our technological progress with some profound ethical thinking.
So after all the theory, all the history, and all the stark warnings, it really just comes down to this one simple question. UFO Labs isn't just a handbook for building a machine, it's kind of like a mirror, forcing us to ask what kind of future we're going to build. The blueprint is one thing, but the choice of what to do with that power, well, that's entirely up to us.